Right, we're learning Siman Tov Peites. We started yesterday, Hilchos Sfiras Ha'omer. We're towards the middle of the Sif. We'll begin the Sif again, Siman Tov Peites, on page Tzadi Dalet. Leil Shady Achat V'las Arvis, the second day of Pesach, after Mariv, Maschilin Nispar Ha'omer, we begin to count the Ha'omer. Shochach Nispar B'tches Halayla, if a person forgot to count the beginning of the night, Heilich V'soifa Kol Halayla, he has the whole night to count. Ideally, you should start counting the beginning of the night. Mitzvah on each person to count for himself. Let's take a look at the Mishnah Brura Sivkatan. Hey, Nispar Atzmai, why? Why does every person have to count himself? Because the Pasuk says, Usfar Tem Lochem, and you should count for yourselves. Mashmes, apparent, Shemitzvah Chol Al Kol Yachid V'Yachid, the mitzvah is on every individual. Lochem, all of you, individuals, as individuals. Mashma mizeh the sfira einay kumoi b'sham mitzvah tol b'amiris. Mashma from here, the sfira is not just like any other mitzvah which one fulfills by saying something. For example, din and kiddush, havdalah, and the like. If a person hears his friend saying havdalah, he can listen and be yaitzer. We do that every Shabbos. When you hear bracha being recited and somebody fulfilling a mitzvah, then you can be yotzer of this recitation by listening to it. You're listening as if you're saying it. You're yotzer. Here the Torah by saying usfartem lochem means, says the Mishnah Brura, until each person counts himself, he's not yotzer. He can't be yotzer shemea ka oine. That's the opinion of the Lavush and the Chik Yaakov. As the Bialocha brings down over here, to Maskal Mitzvah al Kolechot Be'echot. However, Avol Yesh Machroidim Shekosva the Achroidim the Prichodosh that they say the Kavonas HaTorah when it says Lochem, it doesn't mean every person has to count independently and he can't be yotzer to the recitation of somebody else. No. Rak Doloi name it just means don't say the mitzvahs are based in the Vadka. You may have thought the mitzvah sphere is based in has to count. Kamo Shmita and Yovel is like Shmita and Yovel. So the chsev there says it's an obligation on the beis din. But rather there's a communal obligation. I mean, everybody in the tzibur has an obligation of be'emes. It doesn't mean to say if you hear a friend counting the omer, and you plan to be yoitzer, and your friend is happy to be moitzer you. The regular din of Shemea Koina applies. You can be to somebody else saying it, like Kiddush, Havdalah, so to Sfira. Sfira Lochem just means to say, don't think it's a mitzvah on based in alone. But according to this opinion, you can be Yotzi even Shemea Koina, listening to the bracha being recited, listening to the Sfira being recited by somebody else. That's all with regard to the Sfira itself, the mitzvah is to count. And Machlekes, if you can be Yotzi the counting, if somebody else does the counting for you. Aval, as we turn the page, the bracha said before the sfira, then the Kuli Alma with regard to brachas. A bracha is bracha on the mitzvah, and the bracha can be recited by somebody else, even if you hold that the mitzvah itself has to be done by you. Nevertheless, Amir says that Mishnah Brura, throughout Yisrael, a widespread custom is Shekolechad Mevarech V'Seif Le'atzmo. Not only is the Sfira recited by each person, but the bracha as well. We don't rely on the bracha of the Shliach Tzibur, unless obviously a person has some sort of question or doubt whether he's yet to the mitzvah, or whether he can still say the Sfira. For example, he's not sure if he missed a day, etc. Then it may be advisable to listen to the Shliach Tzibur saying the bracha and then to say the Sfira by yourself. But otherwise, each person says a sfira and the bracha for himself. Says the Mishnah Brura weiter. The Mishnah continues. Yeah. Kosva achreidim, the achreidim, right? The sfira mutter b'chol lashon. You can count the sfira in any language. Provided you understand the language. Even a person who recites a sfira and he doesn't know what he's saying, even in lashon hakodesh. Ein yotze is not yotze to give into the yod of Mike Omar. Ein zet sfira, since he doesn't know what he's saying, it's not sfira. I mean, with regards to other recitations, we often say that if a person says in Lashon HaKodesh, it's intrinsically considered a Lashon absolute. It's an absolute language, and even if you don't understand, you can be yotze. But here, a sfira counting means, by definition, it must be counted, and you have to know what you're doing to make a count. Similarly, with regards to Bittul Chometz, he also said that even if you don't understand what you're saying, even if you say in Lashon Kodesh, you're not Yotze because it's simply not a Bittul, it's not a declaration of making the items ownerless, Chometz ownerless. Yeah. Right. The Shulchan Aruch continues on the top of page 188. V'tzorech lisbar me'umad ulevarech tchila. A person has to say the Sfira standing, and before Sfira, he makes a bracha al Sfira Soimen. Mishnah Brura Sif Katan. Oh, v'tzorech lisbar me'umad, the person has to say Sfira standing up. V'tzorech la'amod mishah shemaschal bracha. Even before the bracha, you have to stand up. But the person said the Sfira sitting down, he's also Yotza. Now, what's this Indian of standing up for the Sfira? So the Shad Tziyam brings down that it's based on pasuk. The pasuk says Mehochel Chermish Bakomo, when the growth of the Tfur begins Bakomo, Koma of the upright corn. Koma means to be standing, but Koma we learn it must be said standing. Shulchan says a person has to stand for Sfira because it's such an important thing. It's similar to Shemona Esrei, it must therefore be said standing up. Now, with regard to the bracha, why the bracha has to be recited standing up, so the Shad Tziyam Sivkot Zayin says that this bracha has to be said standing up, like all brachas and mitzvahs. Whenever we make a bracha on a mitzvah, we say the brachas and mitzvahs standing up. The question is that this is not really so. For example, eating a matzah, eating of maror is done sitting down, and the bracha of matzah, lechilas maror, in fact, the Hallel on Seder is also said sitting down. It's also a mitzvah. So the question is, what does the Shad Tziyam mean? It's called brachas ha-mitzvahs, tzarich liyos lechatchila b'amida. All brachas recited on mitzvahs have to be said standing up. And there's various suggestions. One suggestion is based on the Mateh Ephraim, Siman Tov Reish, is based, and this is brought down by Rabbi von Gurvitz in Anafar Ziel, that a mitzvah, that the mitzvah is performed standing up, the bracha on that mitzvah is said standing up. But a mitzvah that is performed sitting down, then the bracha on that mitzvah is recited sitting down. And therefore the mitzvahs on Leil Seder which are performed sitting down, for example, eating matzah, eating maror, etc., the bracha is also recited sitting down. Now, Shulchan Aruch continues. The Sefer HaYomim, one counts the days, Vashavuos, and also the weeks. It's actually important to say Shavuos, because it's not Shavuos is promise, it's Shavuos is weeks. So we count the days and we count the weeks. What does this mean? So Shulchan Aruch says, Kate said, what does this mean? By Rishon on the first day, a person says, Hayom Yom Echad. Today is the first day of the Omer. Obviously, there is no week yet. Actually, until he reaches day 7. And then he says, Hayom Shiva Yom. Today is 7 days. Shahim, which is Shavua Echad, 1 week of the Omer. Yom on the 8th day, he says, Hayom Shmona Yomim. Today is 8 days. Shahim Shavua Echad, which is 1 week. Yom Echad on 1 day. Omer. Achin and Shekir Arba'asa till he reaches the 14th. Yom he says, Hayom Arba'asa Yom. Today is 14 days. Shahim Shnei Shavuos LaOmer. Al Derech Zeh, he continues to count Moed B'Holech like this, Ad Mem Tes Yom, until he completes 49 days of counting. Let's take a look at the Mishnah Brura Sif Katan Chazayin. The Sefer HaYomim Vashavuos, you count both the days and the weeks. Why is that? Because the pasuk says Tispuru, you should count 50 days. Well, the pasuk also says Shiva Shavuos Tispuru, you count 7 weeks. Therefore, we count days and we count also weeks. In Tipa Yom Melachut, Shavuos, a person only counted days and didn't count weeks. Some say Sheyotza B'Diavad, he takes B'Diavad. Yeshem, and some say Shesarach Lachzor, Lispa Yom Shavuos Kadin. You should go again and count days with the weeks as well, as is required. Al Kain Yichayz of a Sefer, you should do so. Count again with the bracha without saying a bracha. If you didn't count again, nevertheless, when the Shem and bracha continue, the chain continues. You can count the rest of the days with a bracha. The Shad Tziyam brings here the importance of saying days is actually more significant than the importance of saying weeks. In fact, the Mishnah Brura continues, in Monosh Shavuos, if a person counted weeks for Lo Yomim but didn't count days, Klal at all. Shammai said, Bayem Shvi on the 7th day, Hayom Shavua Echad, today is 1 week. But Hitzki Yarim Cloud, without mentioning at all the days. And similarly, it would be the 14th or the 21st, which is the concluding, the conclusion of each week. A person was to count on the 14th, for example, today is 2 weeks of the Omer, or the 21st, today is 3 weeks of the Omer. The Kuliyam Yotze is definitely not Yotze because he hasn't at all mentioned the days. And as the Sharatzian points out, the mentioning of days is the most important because the Pasuk says, Chamishim Yom Tispuru Chamishim Yom, you should count 50 days. And the 50 days is an absolute number. I mean, every one of those 50 days is a day. Even in the first week, you can count a day. But the weeks, however, can only be counted from the 7th day, or perhaps only on the 7th day. So therefore, the days is an absolute. Yeah, like the Shulchan Aruch Rav says over here in Dush number 28 in my edition, that days can be counted throughout the 50 to 49 days. But Shavuos weeks can only be counted as weeks at the end of every week. So therefore, the day counting is more important, and therefore it's ma'ak. If a person didn't say on any one day, he didn't say the number of days, he would not be Yotze. Although we will see tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem, that if a person said on the 8th day, he said on the 8th day, today is Shavua Echad v'Yom Echad la'omer, since he has mentioned the days, that would also be Yotze. But if it would be on day 7, day 14, day 21, etc., which are the conclusion of a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, when he mentions the weeks, he would not be Yotze. Mishnah Berurah continues, Ba'omer, the brackets here, kept on putting in the word Ba'omer. We mentioned before that it's not clear who added these brackets in. When it says Hagot, it means it's the Ramot. When it's the brackets, could be somebody else added it in. Anyway, Ba'omer, the Mishnah Berurah says, most places say Hanusach is La'omer, rather than Shehem so-and-so days Ba'omer, so-and-so days La'omer. And this is the minig of the La'omer, the minig of the Kolboy, the Tanish, Bolei Leket, the Shuvas Rashba, Beis Yosef, and all say La'omer, others say Ba'omer, the Gorn. The Mishnah Berurah seems to say Ba'omer later on, Sukkot, Chaf Aleph, and Sukkot, and Lamed Beis. But the Mishnah Berurah says, this is only an ideal. The entire word saying Ba'omer or La'omer is a lechatchila. A person just said today is so and so number Yotze, he is also Yotze. Yotze, we don't say the word Ba'omer or La'omer, he's Yotze. The idea of saying Ba'omer, the advantage is that Ba'omer means in the days of the Omer count, and therefore even on the first night when the Kabbalah Omer would not have been written, but not have yet have been brought, first, second night Pesach, whenever the Ba'omer would be applicable. The problem with saying Ba'omer is that it sounds like now is the time of bringing the Omer, and of course, you only bring the Omer once, the beginning of the Omer count. On the other hand, La'omer means to the counting of the Korban Omer, which was already whenever it might have been, but and therefore you're counting to the Omer, really from the Omer. But the problem with La'omer is that that wouldn't quite fit in on the first night of Pesach, because you can't. Today is the first night of the bring of the Korban Omer if you haven't actually brought the Korban Omer yet. This is discussed in the Taz of Cotton Gimel, the Cotton Test. Al-Zenem, on about such a thing, we say Elu va'elu divrei Elohim.